This is Northern Light for Wednesday, July 29th. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. We visit the Long Lake Fish and Game Club, where the school's trap shooting team competes each spring and fall.
When we're here, it is all personable conversation. They're talking to each other. They're hyping each other up. They're calming each other down. They're really encouraging to each other.
Also on the show, the New York State Fair opens in about a month, and one day is free for SUNY students.
We think this is just another way to offer students the opportunity to expose them to what's great about our state.
And all this week, we're pulling back the curtain at NCPR. This morning, reporter Emily Russell breaks down her reporting process.
All that's coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us. Support for Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio comes from the Northern New York Community Foundation, serving Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence counties since 1929, helping donors fulfill their charitable giving goals to forever strengthen the places they love. Online at nnycf.org. And from Mountain Orthotic and Prosthetic Services, a full-service practice providing care for patients of all ages, with offices in Lake Placid, Plattsburgh, Malone, and Burlington. Online at mountainonp.com. This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. New Yorkers will need to prove they're over 18 years old before continuing to scroll through their social media feeds starting this January. At a press conference yesterday, Governor Kathy Hochul said that's the result of a new law designed to protect children from social media addiction.
So under 18, your feed can only include accounts that you follow, that you choose, not sitting there as just a victim of this all bombardment, that you actually will have a choice of what you see.
The new rules also include restrictions on overnight notifications. Apps won't be able to send notifications to minors between midnight and 6 in the morning. Children will only have basic feeds. At yesterday's press conference, Attorney General Letitia James said the rules make social media safer for kids to protect their mental health.
This law does not ban young people from social media, and it does not restrict what they can say or see. This is not a question of privacy. This is a question about content.
Tech companies didn't comment on the unfolding regulations, which take effect in late January.
Rebate checks will be coming to New Yorkers this fall to make up for higher utility rates. As the New York Public News Network's Jimmy Vielkind reports, they'll arrive just before Election Day.
A person familiar with the state's plans say checks of up to $200 will start arriving in September. Governor Hochul touted the billion-dollar program as an affordability measure. But GOP critics are questioning the timing and say the money won't do much to help with rising rates. Dean Murray is a Republican state senator from Suffolk County.
Well, surprise, surprise, it's coming out a month before the election. Who'd have thunk?
Bill Ferris of AARP New York says the checks will help older people on fixed incomes.
They're needed. It was a terrible winter.
State officials estimate 8 million households will receive the payments. In Albany, I'm Jimmy Vielkind for the New York Public News Network.
The Adirondack Park Agency is hosting an information session next week about its plan to build a new headquarters in Saranac Lake. The state agency aims to renovate a historic building on Main Street and build a new office building for its more than 50 employees. Earlier this year, the village signed a lease agreement with the APA. The project is estimated to cost about $40 million, which has been appropriated by the state legislature. Some current and former APA employees have pushed back on the plans, while more than 60 local leaders and residents have come out in support of the move. The state agency that governs the park has been based in Raybrook for more than 50 years. The public information session on the APA's new headquarters project will be at the Harriet's Town Hall next Wednesday from 3 to 7 p.m.
A lot of school sports work the same way. Two teams compete against each other in the same place. They both try to score as many goals or points as they can to win. The sport of trap shooting is a lot different. Student athletes rarely compete in the same place as another team. There's no match to win or goals to score. Instead, athletes measure their own success against others statewide. One of the top trap shooting teams in New York is in Long Lake. Emily Russell went to one of their competitions and has our story.
Donna Furlong has a clipboard in one hand and a pencil in the other.
Officers are ready? Lines ready?
Lines hot.
4 students stand in a line facing a big open field. They're each wearing a bright orange vest and holding a long shotgun.
All walk.
It's mid-May at the Long Lake Fish and Game Club. These students are part of the Long Lake School District's Clay Target team. Donna Furlong is their advisor. She also teaches math and science. Her 12-year-old son, Kieran, is one of the shooters here today.
So when I start, I close my barrel and I put it up to like the sky almost, but not quite.
He then rests the back end of his gun against his shoulder.
And then once my gun is ready, on that point, I'll yell pull, and then I'll follow it.
It all happens in just a few tenths of a second. The clay bird is launched into the sky from a trap house in the field. This sport is meant to mimic bird hunting. It originated in England nearly 300 years ago.
Oh! Lost?
That means the student missed the clay target.
Every shot is different. Like, no shot is exactly the same.
That's Griffin Farr. He's 17, a senior, and also plays baseball. He's one of the top shooters on the team. Each round, students take 25 shots. Just a day earlier, Farr scored a perfect round. I ask him what it feels like to hit 25 targets in a row.
It's a good feeling. It's nerve-wracking. Like, if you shoot 24 and leading up to the last shot, it's a lot of pressure. Like, you're like second-guessing everything, but you just got to stay calm and pull the trigger.
For Daphne Seaman, her strategy to stay focused during a competition is to distract herself.
I try and sing a song in my head, so I'm not thinking about if I'm missing or hitting them.
Seaman is 17 years old. She's a junior who's also into art and poetry. I ask what song she's singing in her head today.
Noah Kahan just came out with a new album. I started singing Dan by Noah Kahan.
I'm with my best friend Dan now, camping on the county line.
Most of Long Lake's trap shooting competitions happen here on their home turf. Then their advisor, Donna Furlong, submits their scores to compare them to other teams with 8 athletes. The state's conferences are broken down by team size. Furlong says these athletes are the real deal.
I've been doing it myself for probably 10 years or so. I am nowhere near as good as any of these children, but I know enough about the sport to know about guns and about safety and about ammunition.
She and all the kids here have taken hunter safety courses. They also have a big safety talk at the start of each season and before every competition week. Another rule at the range is no cell phones, which Furlong says is key to getting the kids to connect and stay in the moment.
When we're here, it is all personable conversation. They're talking to each other. They're hyping each other up. They're calming each other down. You know, they're really encouraging to each other. And overall, they're just an awesome group of kids to work with.
New York State is home to more than 180 trap shooting teams, and the sport is growing. In the last decade, the number of students competing across the country has more than doubled.
Like anything else, we got to bring the youth into the game.
That's Bruce Jennings. He's president of the Long Lake Fish and Game Club, which provides all the ammunition and clay targets for the students, as well as access to the shooting range.
If you don't bring the youth in, as myself, I'm 73 and I'm going to fade out. And so we need those younger folks to take over the reins and do it for the next generation.
The sport taps into the strong hunting culture in rural towns around New York. Every athlete I talk to in Long Lake has been around guns nearly all their lives, including Daphne Seaman, the only girl on the team.
I've grown up surrounded by guns, hunting since I was before I could walk. Like, my family has a bunch of guns, and my dad's really into shooting, and so he kind of like pushed me into it. He was like, this would be fun.
Seaman says his passion has now become her passion. Just like any other high school sport, families and friends are here today sitting in lawn chairs, cheering on the athletes as the competition comes to a close.
All out. Good job, you guys.
The students dump their shotgun shells into a big blue bucket. They then come over to the clipboard and initial their names next to their scores. Emily Russell, North Country Public Radio at the Fishing Game Club in Long Lake.
You can check out photos of the Long Lake trap shooting team now at our website, ncpr.org. This is North Country Public Radio. You're listening to Northern Light from North Country Public Radio. It's 8:12. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Stick around. Our Adirondack reporter, Emily Russell, will join us for a conversation about her reporting process.
That's coming up in just a few minutes here on NCPR, which is supported by the North Country Children's Museum, Potsdam, now featuring a second floor of hands-on and minds-on exhibits and programs for children 12 and under. Open Wednesday to Sunday, northcountrychildrensmuseum.org. And from Fort Dilla Presentation, helping to educate and recreate historical ventures of interest to the St. Lawrence region, fort1749.org. Support also comes from you.
At a time when public media stations are merging or cutting staff and programming, NCPR continues to meet challenges head on. Despite last year's cut of all federal funding, we haven't missed a beat. We've continued to bring you award-winning news that keeps you informed about the issues that matter the most here in the North Country. We can only do that with your continued support. Make your monthly sustaining contribution right now at ncpr.org/give or call 877-388-6277. And thank you.
We've been listening to music from Adirondack Project out of Saranac Lake.
A new report finds New York needs to spend $500 billion to combat the effects of climate change, and that's a conservative estimate. The report from Rebuild by Design cited research of in-progress, recently completed, and planned adaptation projects across New York State. The group's Niati Johnson says while potential costs are higher in coastal areas, the rest of the state is not immune.
We know that when governments don't invest in adaptation, greater costs get passed on to residents in the form of tax increases, insurance hikes, home repairs, business losses, etc.
The report suggests solutions like establishing long-term funding streams for climate adaptation and completing the statewide adaptation and resilience plan.
New York's utility regulator handed out $50 million in penalties this summer. The fines were given to 5 utilities that failed to meet customer service expectations last year. The penalties are supposed to incentivize better service, but this year's utilities were also penalized for their 2024 performance. State Public Service Commission Chair Rory Christian defended the practice.
The goal is to get them to deliver results to customers, and if they're unable to deliver those results, assess a financial penalty that encourages them to do so. So we sized the penalties, we sized the metrics, all with that goal in mind, to make sure that we can get that result. We've seen continuous improvement in certain areas, particularly after the pandemic.
A few companies are challenging their penalties, including NYSEG. It's arguing that their customer service failures were the result of external conditions.
A worker was seriously injured during the Lewis County Fair's demolition derby last weekend. According to WWNY, 68-year-old David Schultz crossed the track to address sound issues during the demolition derby. While he was on the track, 2 cars crashed through a concrete safety barrier and pinned his legs against it. Schultz is a board member for the Lewis County Fair. Sheriff Mike Carpinelli said emergency personnel immediately began life-saving measures at the scene until a medical helicopter arrived. Schultz was flown to the hospital in Syracuse for treatment. According to the TV station, Schultz broke a major bone in his leg, but was in good spirits and communicating with Fair staff.
A new hiking trail is opening in Essex County this weekend. According to a press release from Champlain Area Trails, known as CATS, the Mount Inez Trail will open this Saturday, August 1st, with a community celebration. The event will include performances and a guided hike. The summit of Mount Inez offers views of the high peaks and the Champlain Valley. The trail is named in honor of Inez Milholland, a women's suffrage advocate, attorney, and longtime resident of the town of Lewis. The full round-trip hike is a little over 3 miles long. For those looking for a shorter outing, the new Meadowmount Woods Trail offers a scenic 1.5-mile walk through the surrounding forest.
The New York State Fair opens in just about a month, and this year there's an added bonus for students who attend SUNY colleges. Dave Bullard with the New York Public News Network has more.
In a little over a month, the state's largest annual festival returns for its 178th edition when the Great New York State Fair opens its gates, lets loose its rides, and cranks up the music.
What's up, Syracuse?
This year, there's a little bonus for students at SUNY colleges, free admission on day 2 of the fair called Student Youth Day. Katie Ray is the fair spokesperson.
We try to make the fair as affordable as possible, and we are one of the most affordable fairs in the country. We think this is just another way to offer students the opportunity to expose them to what's great about our state.
Student Youth Day features free admission for anyone age 18 and under, but SUNY students with a valid ID and an admissions letter will also get in for free that day. Several SUNY colleges take active roles in the fair, and on Student Youth Day, SUNY Cobleskill will highlight careers and technology in agriculture on what is also Agriculture Careers Day. The fair features scores of food and drink vendors, dozens of rides in the Wade Show's Midway, special events, and, says Katie Ray, some new twists for 2026.
What we have really focused on this year is making the fair something for everyone. We have new programming in the Empire Room this year that we think is really dynamic. It's really fun. So you can come in, you could do a trivia night, you could do emo night. We're doing line dancing. There's speed dating. There's a number of things that all is included with the price of admission.
On the stages for Student Youth Day, 90s hit band The Calling and modern country artist Cooper Allen are on Chevy Court, while a large audience is expected for Grammy-winning reggae and rap star Sean Paul. For the New York Public News Network, I'm Dave Bullard.
This is NCPR.
You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's 8:19. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Stick around after the show for Bird Note. That's coming up at 8:42. With our eyes to the skies, sunset in Saranac Lake is at 8:25 tonight. And if you can look up, there's a full moon tonight. It's the buck moon.
Rains continue throughout the region today. There is a flash flood warning in effect for parts of Saratoga County and Washington County, too. That's expected to be in effect until the early afternoon. There is flash flooding of some small creeks and streams and even some highway areas, especially in and around Saratoga Springs, Ballston Spa, Round Lake, and other communities there, including Schuylerville. A reminder to turn around, don't drive through flooded roads, and make sure to be aware of your surroundings as well. The eastern Adirondacks and the southern part of the Champlain Valley is also under a flood watch today, too. More rainfall is expected throughout the region today. Up to 1 to 3 inches is possible. At last check, it was 68 degrees in Fort Drum, 64 degrees in Paul Smith, 68 in Plattsburgh, and 20 degrees in Gananoque.
Each morning, you tune into Northern Light to get updated on news from around the region and the state. The stories you hear take you to a lot of places around the North Country, from your local town hall and dairy farms to the shores of Lake Champlain and the top of a high peak in the Adirondacks. We want to keep that coverage you rely on around for years to come. It's our summer fundraiser, and you can make a contribution right now at ncpr.org/give or call 877-388-6277.
And this week, we're getting a closer look at the people who work at the station. Just this morning, our assistant news director and Adirondack reporter Emily Russell took us out to Long Lake for a story about a local trap shooting team there. And now she's joining us for a conversation about her reporting. Hey, Emily. Emily, are you there? Well, we are experiencing some technical issues right now. But hopefully Emily will be joining us on the line here before too long. And in the meantime, we will listen to a...
Test.
Oh, Emily,
hello.
There you are. So glad to have you. What a pleasant surprise. No. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show to join us for a conversation about your reporting process, especially talking about the story that we had on earlier the show that listeners heard earlier in the show about that local trap shooting team in Long Lake. We were curious. So how did you get the idea for this story?
Yeah, so like so many stories that we have here on Northern Light, it was submitted by a member of our community. It just so happened to be the editor of Adirondack Life magazine. She had been out and about in her own community. Her name is Annie Stolte, and she heard about this trap shooting team in Long Lake and sent me an email. So the story will appear in a different form in the Adirondack Life magazine next year. But, so many pitches we get are from folks in the community that hear about something or, are curious about something, and they send us an email. And those are, some of the best stories come from folks in our communities. And so I heard about it. I reached out to a parent in Long Lake and then was connected to the school's advisor and had a few chats before heading down there. And so I was there for a full competition down in Long Lake back in May. And it was just such a joy to be there to witness the amazing skills that these students have. And, the volunteers from the Fish and Game Club, to talk to them and just to be able to share their story here on Northern Light.
Emily, I want to broaden our conversation a little bit. You cover the whole Adirondack Park, and it's a big place with a lot of issues. How do you identify those top issues in the news of the day with all of that going on?
Yeah, I would say that this is the most challenging part of the job. I am one person, and this is a 6 million acre park. So, of course, I cannot get to everything. I can't really get to most things. But we have conversations with the entire newsroom every morning to talk about what the top issues are, not only in the Adirondacks, but around the North Country. And we really try to just hone in on what matters and also what makes sense for a radio story. We really do try to get out into communities as much as we can. Like I was down in Long Lake for an afternoon for that story. But sometimes, we can't get to every community. So we'll call up other reporters at other places like the Adirondack Explorer. We get to chat with them on a regular basis. They do great in-depth work. Also, local reporters here where I am in Saranac Lake at the Adirondack Daily Enterprise. So we really also try to take advantage of, the skills and the knowledge of other journalists around the region.
You've touched on it a bit, but how do you build relationships with communities and people to learn about stories or find sources?
It helps, and it matters so much that we live in these communities. Like I said, I live here in Saranac Lake. I've been here for about 5 years, and I feel like I'm just now really deeply getting a sense of this place and these communities in the Tri-Lakes area. I grew up in Glens Falls, which I think also really helps to understand the whole Adirondack region. We've got, of course, our Plattsburgh reporter, Kara Chapman, born and raised up there in the Champlain Valley, and she's now covering that region for us. And of course, plenty of reporters there in the St. Lawrence Valley where you guys are. And it makes a difference. Anytime you go out to the grocery store, or go to a party, or just hanging out, walking through your community, and you run across someone who knows you because maybe you've got your NCPR hat on. And so many story ideas come from those interactions, which, again, it's essential that we're here on the ground in these communities, meeting locals where they are.
Yeah, so you have that integration into the community down. How do you know your stories really represent the community? How do you make sure that you get all the perspectives you need in any given story?
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to our entire newsroom and our news editor, David Summerstein, who's been at NCPR for more than 25 years, which is incredible. And it speaks to the depth of this station and, the deep understanding of this region. And I think it's really all about having conversations, with your sources and with experts in the region, and having pre-interviews and making sure you really get to understand the story before diving into it, before, driving to Old Forge or going down to North Creek. And so, yeah, we do talk about it. We talk about how to make sure this is a well-rounded story with, all sides represented. And that's, essential to the kind of journalism we do here on North Country Public Radio.
What are some of your favorite kinds of stories to work on?
Well, you heard it this morning. I am such a fan of sports. I grew up playing ice hockey in Glens Falls and just love sports so much. And I feel like they're such they really capture a culture in a community. And I feel like I've been really lucky. I mean, living in the Adirondacks, what better place to cover sports in this place, whether it's, a local trap shooting team or an Olympic bobsledding team. I get to do it all, which is really lovely. And then just, profiles of people that live in these places, highlighting the cool things that they're doing. Of course, there's plenty of stories about the environment, about public lands, about hiking. Audio postcards is something I'm really passionate about too, going out on the weekends and hiking up a little trail in the Southern Adirondacks and capturing that sound. And we know our listeners really love those stories. And so we prioritize those too, giving listeners what they want to hear, and also making sure all the news is really represented accurately here.
Yeah, I really like that response. What makes you stay motivated to keep reporting here in the North Country for NCPR?
Oh, man. I tell people I have the best job in the world being the Adirondack reporter for North Country Public Radio. Like I said, I grew up in this area, and it's just such a beautiful place to live. There are an endless amount of stories here and all around the North Country. There's no way that I would ever be bored or, lack a challenge to tell a deep story here in the North Country. And so I can't see running out of stories here in the North Country. We hear from listeners all the time sending emails about, hey, I saw this thing while I was driving to Tupper Lake, or I've got this question about what the police are up to in this community. And so we love and welcome that input from listeners. And yeah, like I said, there's so many stories to tell, and we try to do our best to represent those voices and those stories and keep pushing ourselves to tell deeper and better stories here.
And you can support that kind of reporting and storytelling when you give right now at ncpr.org/give, or when you call 877-388-6277. Emily Russell is NCPR's Assistant News Director and Adirondack reporter. Emily, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Be well.